Coming to you from the heart of the Great White North. Welcome to the Canadian Prepper Podcast. Immerse yourself in the world of preparedness with insights from seasoned experts and a touch of Canadian practicality. Your go-to source for all things survival, resilience, and self-reliance. Now, let's kick off another episode packed with knowledge and strategies to ensure you're ready for whatever life may throw your way. Stay tuned and let the journey to preparedness begin.
Welcome to episode 236 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast, recorded April 21st, 2024. My name is Ian. I'm a homesteader on Vancouver Island who has no idea how OPSEC works. Eric and I are switching roles tonight. Nothing wrong with a little role-playing now and then. So I believe that makes him the one that's airborne, and I guess I have to go to the furry convention this weekend. Or something like that.
Well, you know, it's about time the intern learned a little bit, eh?
That's right.
And I'm Jeff. I'm based in Central Ontario. I'm a target shooter, ham radio operator, general overall handyman, and weather nerd.
My name's Pierre. I'm a tactical beard owner, based t-shirt dude that makes stuff, government critique, and the reason we hit the explicit button.
Hey, I'm Mel. I'm usually on here to talk about plants and their natural habits, but I thought I would shake it up a bit. I absolutely adore anything nature and the secret she holds, besides my thirst for horticulture and my epic green thumb, curious mind, and the love for nature. I'm an avid hunter, hippie at heart, and someone that enjoys life's adventure with an open mind, the willingness to learn, and share what I know.
Want to help support the show? Buy some swag. We have both the Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt and tactical Velcro patch at www.prepperpodcast.ca. All proceeds help cover our podcast costs.
If you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes and submit a review wherever you found us. We want to hear your feedback, even if it's bad. We also invite you to reach out to tell us about something you've learned this week. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
All right, we have some sizzling content for this episode. We're going to start with some relevant news, update you on the personal preps, then we'll get into the main topic, which is the in the kitchen with no power. So news time.
First big point of news, be on your best behavior. Eric is in the chat. He just couldn't leave. He had to spy on us.
Get fucked.
Yeah.
I told nah.
Are we doing good,
Yeah.
boss?
No, I think you should just I think you just log in.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, be a man.
Yeah.
Grow a pair.
I wonder how much he's paying for Wi-Fi right now.
Don't worry, we're probably paying for it.
Wouldn't be him anyways. It's the employer.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways,
that's true.
On to the news. So Dubai, or the United Arab Emirates area, anybody knows that it's mostly, as far as I know, desert. They don't have they have a lot of water, I guess, in the ocean. But anyways, they have suffered some massive flooding. They got 14 months of rain in 24 hours. Literally all of their roads, anything that was an underpass was flooded. Businesses that were at street level were flooded. Shopping malls and stuff. The roofs aren't made they're not made like ours. They're not designed for that kind of rain. So they were the water was literally pouring through the roofs of the malls and all that stuff. So it did a crap ton of damage out there. So just shows you how weird the weather's been lately.
Well, yeah, a couple points for that one. So, yeah, it is very deserty, having been there. But yeah, interestingly enough, they don't, of course, because they don't really get that much rain in any great amount, so they don't really have like storm sewers like we do here. So literally, there's no place in the road for it to drain into and then drain out to, say, the ocean or anything. It's literally just meant to stay on the road and evaporate off, right? So they have no capability of removing excess water whatsoever. And like you mentioned, the roofs and stuff like that, that's just, of course, it's very flat, right? So there's really, the water's not going to go anywhere anytime fast. So even the airport, I think, had 14 inches of water sitting in certain parts of it. So the planes.
Yeah, I heard that too. They had shut the airport down because they couldn't they couldn't taxi the planes and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to throw on your tinfoil hat for a minute, literally that morning they did aerial seeding in Dubai to try and promote rain. I guess it worked. So,
I guess it did.
They've been doing this for years, right? But they actually do try and like every time there's a cloud in the sky, because it's literally just clear in a million there, right? Like there's no clouds whatsoever. So every time there's a cloud that shows up, they try and seed it with some basically silver iodide or something like that, and try and make it rain so they can actually collect some of that rainwater. But no, I guess they were super efficient this time for sure. So well done, I guess.
Something happened for sure.
Yeah. All right, Darius handed us a bit of a tip today, so we're going to be in a bit of a fire theme with my news stuff. CBC News says Alberta is anticipating a bad wildfire season. They've already got a wildfire evacuation alert going for northeastern Alberta, up near Wood Buffalo National Park and Fort McMurray, that area. So there's already 50 wildfires underway in Alberta. But not to be outdone, BC, of course, has to be the center of attention. So they mentioned there's a giant 1,600 hectare fire going on near Cornell right now, which is just like right in the middle of the province, kind of about a third of the way up the province, right in the middle, and it's a big one. I think 1 hectare is 9 acres, so 1,600 hectares.
A hectare is 3 acres.
3 acres. Okay, there you go. So
yeah,
that'd be like almost 5,000 acre fire right there.
Yeah.
So, and then also, interestingly enough, this kind of pertains to fire a little bit. So, if you imagine after every emergency, there's going to be a bunch of people that are like doing like an outdoor encampment, almost like an off-grid kitchen or something, and they could obviously be huddled all together and stuff like that. So, at a homeless shelter, or not a homeless shelter, a homeless encampment in Kelowna. So a bunch of people were sitting there living in tents and backs of pickups and everything else. They had a fire breakout, and obviously due to bad cooking safety techniques or whatever or something. Anyway, it started
just a little too late.
Yeah, it started in the back of a pickup truck, I guess, and so it just spread like wildfire, literally. And it was bad news. Not that I like making fun of I don't want to make fun of homeless people on fire and stuff, but it just goes to show you, like, if in case of any emergency, right? You don't want to be huddled all together in a super tightly packed group if you can help it. So
yeah,
and you want to be safe with your fire too, I guess.
Yes.
Where's Alan?
So we've got Andrea on the live chat there. She lives in that area of Fort McMurray and said that there's no evacuation, just an alert right now. At the peak, it was 60 acres, but it's down to 60 hectares. It's down to 30 now. So that's a good thing that it's going down, but not a good thing that it's actually burning to begin with. So
yeah, Dubai must have sent some water our way, thankfully.
Yeah, maybe they should. They got planes; they can afford to just fill a few tanks and send it over.
Yeah.
Well, usually like Conair, which is the firefighting aerial bombardment.
Oh, that was a good movie.
It was also a good movie with Nick Cage. Yeah. I mean, please put the money down. But yeah, Conair is actually the name of the company that does water bombing out here, and it's actually the largest water bombing company in the world, I believe. They've already deployed airplanes, which is like ludicrously early. Usually it's not until about May long weekend, like May 15th kind of thing. But they've already sent a bunch of planes to Alberta to get ready for that. So I guess it's gonna be a banner year for them anyway.
As Andrea says again, it's very dry there. It's dry everywhere. They're really, as I've said numerous times in my weather stuff, that we just didn't have a winter and there was very little snow cover, and you know they really needed a lot of the snow cover for the spring, for the melt to get it into the ground, and it just wasn't there.
Yeah, I hear my grandmother saying how worried she is this year, and she's in BC. Like, she may not be mainland like Ian, but she's in the Okanagan, and she said it was quite different this year.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Should we move to what we've done lately for preps?
Yes, sir.
I did some yard cleanup, and I topped off my fuel stores before the big government gouge and business gouge happened again. We had our gasoline here in Ontario go up 13 cents a liter in one day. So I'm not going to say it was the complete, it wasn't completely Justin Trudeau's fault, but I'm sure the carbon tax didn't help. And this claim that they had to raise it so much because they changed from winter gas to summer gas. But it's funny that when it goes from summer gas back to winter gas, they don't drop the price.
No, but then they blame trouble in the Middle East because that's like a new thing. It never happened before. So they always blame trouble in the Middle East when they want to raise gas prices.
But isn't it like summer all the time out there?
Yeah, I know. It's just
okay. 2 + 2 = 7. I got it.
Exactly. Gunny, how you doing?
Yeah.
Pretty good. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
No.
You're just in time to tell us what you did for preps.
I made it.
Yeah.
Nice.
What did you do for preps?
Well, I was out baiting for Mr. or Mrs. Bear, and I also got a little bit of trigger time in. Otherwise, it's been hands in wiring, and that's about it. I haven't had much time for else. How about everybody else? I think I just heard the tail end of somebody talking about theirs.
Yeah, it was just Jeff. Not just Jeff. That was Jeff. Sorry. But yeah,
Same difference.
Yeah. When does spring bear season start out there?
I believe it's first weekend of May.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's normally pretty much the whole month of May. I think maybe into the first week of June.
Yeah, because we usually go turkey hunting on your birthday, which is at the end of May.
Yeah, I normally try and do a spring bear hunt on my birthday weekend or week, but not this year. But yeah, nice.
Very nice. Mel, what about yourself?
Oh boy, we haven't done too much. We're just getting everything ready because we're moving a couple of the sheds in our backyard next weekend. So we're just trying to get whatever still stuff in boxes that we have out of that and we want to start spray painting. So when our buddy comes with the tractor, we know where to pick up and drop off. And yeah, so we want to set up our outdoor kitchen and get all that done. And then after all that, it's where I'm going to start to shine and start doing my garden planning and prep. Joys of owning a brand new home, eh?
Yep. Anything to add, Pierre?
Well, the only thing I'm doing extra is I'm starting to find a few things to switch my bag that I normally keep in my work truck because I drive that one way more than my personal truck. Starting to do that transition from winter supplies to summer supplies. Probably don't need heavy duty socks, but maybe an extra pair of socks or two. Clothes, something to keep dry. If break down, need to get home, ditch the truck or whatever, kind of swapping those supplies to more weather appropriate clothing and snacks. So yeah, and topping up tacti snack. I got those ammo bins from Princess Auto, those 4 ones. There's one in the back seat of my truck, and it's just full of snacks. And now that the nice weather's, one of them's getting switched to Gatorades. And then yeah, I just have snack food in there in case eat the lunch, work late, eat a snack. I don't have to stop somewhere and pay retarded prices at fucking gas stations or somewhere. Just bring it in from time to time, top up the snacks, swap out what I don't eat, and there you go.
I was doing the same thing when I was living out at Gavin's there. But I found after like a month in the heat, they would start to go off a little bit, even if it was like Cliff Bars or whatever, and then the ammo cans. So I was having to change them out a little more often than I thought. But anyway, as for myself, I rearranged the radio in the truck. So I had a ham radio sitting in the center console, but every time I wanted to use it, I had to flip it open. I had to kind of leave it open while I was using it and then close it again. And I thought, well, it'd be better for theft prevention. But then I realized that, no, actually, I like to have it out. So then I put it in the center dash underneath the heater controls and stuff.
Yep.
So that was just a matter of kind of drilling a couple holes and kind of rewiring and taking out the old stuff and worked out well. Brace yourselves. I did gun post deal.
Oh.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. For first one in a while, actually. It's so funny because like in typical Canadian fashion, start talking with the guy and I realized that I used to work for his cousin in Saskatchewan.
It's such a small world when like you start talking to people. It's creepy.
It's like, so because he was in this town that I used to live in, and I was like, oh, cool. I was like, I used to work there. He goes, yeah, that's my cousin. So we started talking a little more. It's like, holy geez, like small world, like very, very
so now you give him an extra few bucks off, right?
Oh no, I charge him more. No,
your cousin was an asshole. You're paying an extra $20.
No, I gave him free shipping, so it was all good. So. Anyway, so quad trailer hitch I had to replace today. So what happened was on the property, of course, it's not exactly a straight level. So it's going down the hill and the quad trailer flipped over and kind of bent the trailer hitch, and it's like a 20-year-old trailer hitch, so it was kind of time anyways. And it was an 1.75-inch ball versus a 2-inch ball, and all my trailers are basically working on a 2-inch ball. So I had to take it up top, and I was trying to get it off with wrenches and everything else, and put some heat on it and everything else, and no. So I ended up having to cut it off with the angle grinder. And so, yeah, I tried the new crescent wrench, didn't work. I ground it off, got the new ball on there, had to repaint it because I kind of cacked it up a bit, and there's still rust anyways, so what the heck.
You didn't pray to the car gods.
No, I did not, but you know what? It's good. Now everything's on a 2-inch ball. That it's just all standardized.
That's what she
That's
said.
good.
Yeah, and to which I showed the picture to the wife, and she's like, "That's just a shiny knob you got there." I was like, "Thank you, thank you,
Thank you.
thank you very much."
I trimmed the bush to make it look bigger.
That's
I'm here to impress all week.
That's right. So on that note, the hilarity continued because I tried to get my winter tires off the kids' Volvo there, and the jack blew a seal, and there's not something
Oh,
that
no.
the kinky hippies do out here. That is literally, I blew a seal on the hydraulic jack, and it just kind of the car slammed down and everything else. I was like, well, that jack's done. So
Nice.
I had to get a new jack, and which obviously worked fine and everything else, but it's a good thing I wasn't just like sitting underneath the car or something when that happened. Anyway,
I had that experience. I kissed the ground. I legitimately felt the tire of a car skid my fingers as I was pulling out. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that was an experience. So
Yeah.
you're very lucky.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a typical Canadian tire jack. So the fact it lasted 20 years, I'm happy with, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah.
Anyways, as luck would have it, the exact replacement was on for 30% off or 40% off today, which is
Nice.
the normal Canadian tire price, but they call it a sale price. And anyway, had to burn some underbrush. I had a bunch of obviously I cleared out my fire break a little more, and had a bunch of sticks sitting on the ground there, so I had to clean all those up. And I did my last bushfire before the burn ban happens in like I think it's a week or less. Anyways, and so I had big piles of stuff ready to go, so I kind of had to feed that for a day, and that was all good. Let's see here. Chicken babies are doing fine. Haven't lost any, which is amazing.
Nice.
So
I
yeah,
know where to order mine now.
yeah, 15 out of 15, they all survived, and I think I got 5 males, so it's not too bad. That's a good percentage. I ordered a bunch of Fox 40 whistles. They had them on sale on Amazon, and I think I got 5 for like $10 or something. It was crazy. Anyway, so to go in the bug out bag or to the vehicle or whatever, just for rescue purposes and everything else. And yeah, the wife wanted one, so I got her one for the when she's in the bush too and everything else. So yeah, good deal on those.
Great prep item.
Yeah, and cheap and beats yelling for help, right?
Oh yeah.
You won't lose your voice when you're blowing a whistle. So solo doomsteading this week. So the wife's away on a trip, and so I'm having to run the stuff myself. So I'm doing a week in her shoes, which is you don't realize how much stuff gets done while you're not here. Anyway, so yeah,
And it's really hard on the ankles wearing high heels.
it is. It's true.
But you look so good.
And then I got to entertain her boyfriend, and it gets weird. It's just so awkward sometimes, right? So anyway, yeah. So other than that, I had to do a bunch of giveaways. So I was cleaning up the acreage. I had a bunch of stuff I was no longer using. Like we were talking about the gas stuff. I had my excess barrel of gas that's empty now, and the little house that it was in and everything else that's all gone. Anyways, and so yeah, lots of giveaways like steel poles, everything else. Craigslist is awesome, right? Throw it up there. 15 minutes later, somebody's coming to get it, and it's like kind of a reverse Goodwill or something. It's great. They just come and get it. Other than that, I just had a local like-minded guy reach out. I hadn't talked to him for a few years, and he gave me a text and touched base with him. And maybe one of these days we'll do a coffee. But yeah, it was nice to hear from him again. So he's still into prepping, which is good, and that's about it. I think that's it. Anybody else? I think we covered everybody, right?
No, we got everybody.
I think we're good.
Sweet. So on to the main topic.
So this topic is what we call, or what we're going to call, I guess, in the kitchen with no power. This topic idea was a suggestion that a Discord user put on our Discord. So if you're not on the Discord, might be not a bad idea to get on there. And there is a topic item there called topic ideas or something like that. So if you've got any ideas for the show, anything you want us to talk about, throw it in there. We greatly appreciated this suggestion. Basically, the user kind of said, so give me an idea of appliances or items that I could use in the kitchen when the power goes out. So this one's for Brad. The obvious one, can openers, and more can openers.
Funny you mentioned that. We're like, as our unpackings happen, we found 3 of his can openers at our house.
Yeah.
And
so
to be fair,
yeah.
the swing away can opener, I'm gonna make a plug for that on Amazon. Like the old 80s style with the big cogs and everything else. It's actually like beefy as hell.
That's what we have.
Yeah,
that's
metal
exactly what I have
metal
too.
ones.
Yeah.
Don't
get the dollar
they're
store
indestructible.
ones. Yeah, don't get the dollar store ones. Get the swing aways and
listen. You want to test a can opener, whether electric or not? Send it my way, because for some reason I am so stupid at using these things that I break them in the most like ridiculous ways.
Yeah, 100%.
Does anybody actually use an electric can opener?
Not anymore, because I kept breaking them.
In the 80s, these were a thing. You kind of shove them up there, they kind of spin around, and they put them down and stuff. And
only place I've seen it is or it's still used, I guess you could say, is a lot of restaurants. People that open up lots of cans or whatever, they'll have that, or they'll have that the one that looks like a vice. You bolt it to a table, and you're gonna open any can, and just like it's a hand crank. You bolt it on something, and it'll open up those giant cans, small cans, like every can possible. They're awesome, ridiculously expensive, but the electric ones, the only ones I've seen is like restaurant, industrial people, because they don't want carpal tunnel.
Yeah, I haven't seen one of those electric ones for years.
So it's been a long time.
You were awesome.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually worked in a restaurant for years either. So there's that, I guess, right?
Yes. So this is an awesome topic, because I've actually done the off-grid thing in a dry cabin for about a year. So let's talk about this. This is awesome. First things first, if you've got a loss of, we should differentiate loss of power and having, a kitchen capability that is fully off the grid, because I think there's a bit of a difference, isn't there? What do you think?
Yeah.
Well,
temperature.
I don't know.
Yeah, I absolutely. There is, and I, in a way, at least in my opinion, they are kind of a cross topic. If the power goes out, you're basically off grid anyway. So
that's right.
Any ideas that you have for off grid stuff is obviously going to be perfect and be useful in a grid down situation. So
all right. Well, the first thing is handling fresh food, I think, is your biggest thing when you've got no power. How to handle fresh food, whether that's meat, whether that's vegetables, whether that's fruit, all those things that have a very short shelf life, you've got to manage to the utmost. So find ways to store them in such a way that you don't have to worry about having a fridge to power it all up, and keep it climate controlled.
Are you where you live, Claude, up north there? Is it all muskeg, or are you able to dig down for a root cellar?
It's a very high water table, and it's a very fine clay. So my plan was to dig a fridge into the ground. And,
you have one?
I have one, although I have another use for that one. That's going to come a little closer to where we are. I was planning on putting an old freezer or fridge into the ground. And that would be a good year-round cool storage space.
It's the same concept as like a cellar, like an underground cellar or bunker that you see them make, where they kind of make like the it almost looks like a hill, but they cover it with grass and stuff so that it keeps all the moisture and the cool in there. Not that you want the moisture, but you need the moisture to hold that cold to bring into the root cellar for you to be able to preserve stuff.
It's that mass of the earth that retains, or rather that keeps its temperature and doesn't heat up as quickly as the outside. So that's one way. So that's why the root cellar was always a great technique. One thing I saw the Amish do up in my area is they build an ice house. But back in the day, they used to use paper and old clothing, whatever they found, and stuff the walls with that. Nowadays, they've embraced modern insulation. And so they'll just they'll make a little house, a little hut, and they'll make 2 walls, and then one of those walls is encased, or between 2 of those outside walls, you've got encased a whole pile of insulation. And on the inner wall, they just stack that full of ice. And then in the winter time, they fill that with ice right up until there's still ice on the lake. They will go out onto the lake, and they will literally cut big blocks of ice out. And they will take this back onto shore, back to their little ice hut, and they'll stack that in there, and they will have cold food for the entire year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's really low tech, right? Just a little hut with some foam insulation.
Yep.
So that's a really wicked prep. Sawdust was the old one. Yeah, hi there, Denny. Sawdust was an old school one as well.
Yep.
Now, obviously, if you're going to do the old sawdust and wood trick, that's really great. Mind your fire safety. Keep your...
And you need a lot of sawdust.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you need,
Like, do you have to
someone that has a
compact?
mill.
Do you have to compact that sawdust down, or you just like kind of throw it in there like loose insulation?
I would do it loose. The more compact it is, the less air you're trapping in between. And it's the air trapped in between.
And then you'll
all
create
those,
mold
the
from the moisture. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely loosely packed. You got to watch your water. If you don't have a good siding on that little hut to keep the moisture out, you're going to have problems with your insulation if you go with sawdust or something like that.
Is that
So
why
that's
a lot
again-
of their buildings were made out of wood versus putting the tin on the side for longevity?
Yes.
Okay.
The idea was that things had to breathe. And so if you look at really old buildings in the cities, they had what were called wet walls. And those wet walls were basically an air cavity between the brick outside and the plaster and slat wall on the inside. And that would allow air to flow and the building would breathe. And that's the idea also behind all those beautiful straw bale homes people are embracing now. And you've got a breathable wall, right? So you don't have to worry about putting in vapor barrier and all of this. It's just incredibly well insulated. So there's 2 different schools of thought with that, right? The moment you've got perfect insulation and vapor barrier, you've also got moisture problems potentially.
Yeah.
So that's another concern. And that's where the foam, again, negates all of that. With a
And
big
no air-
block of foam, there's
well,
no
no airflow,
no moisture, right?
No airflow, no oxygen either. So if you're running like a camp stove or whatever, then you got to worry about ventilation for that anyway. So you got to let it breathe somehow, one way or the other, right?
Yeah. So that's the difference between like your breathing, your living space where you are and where you're going to store food. Storing food off the grid, you've either got to go into the mass or build mass around. Right. If you've got a side hill in your property, you've got a great opportunity.
Yeah,
there,
you got it made.
Right? You got it.
So
made.
does that mean, because you've seen our basement, so does that mean our basement, I can technically store my canned goods as long as I control the moisture in there?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes.
As long as you never get it to freezing temperature.
Yes. So
Like,
freezing
keep-
temps
keep-
are no bueno for your canned goods, obviously, but also that moisture, as we know, it's going to rust those cans.
It was
That's
will unlock the seal.
shorten their shelf life. Yeah. So
Generally,
having
what's-
caches up front is a great thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say generally once you get down about 15 feet too, the temperature should be whatever the average temperature is for your area. So if your average temperature year long is like +2 or +4 or whatever, if you live up north, it should maintain that year round if you go down about 15 feet.
Yes.
Is that like the sweet spot? Is like 15
Well,
feet?
It's kind of what geothermal works on, right? So like geothermal basically works on a cooling and heating system because it moderates it based on the average temperature, and that's usually. But if you go any deeper, you start to warm up again because the Earth's mantle type of thing.
Fair
But
enough.
If you go down a fair amount, right around the 15-foot mark, it seems to be the average temperature year round what you're living in. So
It really depends on substructure and what you have underneath your
Yeah.
property, right? If you're on bedrock all the way down, well, that's a whole other ball of wax, a whole different thing.
So now that if we get food cold, because like these are really amazing ideas, like we would have to step into thinking about preserving like the vegetables and then preserving the herbs or even creating herbs by drying them out, right? So that's where I don't know what they're called. I've seen them where they're the outdoor dehydrators where they use the glass panels.
Yes.
So that'd be another way. But then how would you, like, I know the salt treatment because that's what we've been taught, or black pepper for meat. But is there any other way that you may know of, Claude, specifically? I mean, I'm not trying to put out anybody else, but how to store your meat?
Many smoke.
Oh,
Smoke is the
Smoke.
age-old way. Smoke. If a lot of
Certain
people
kinds of
wonder
wood,
how-
isn't there? Because there's some
Well,
woods that are poisonous when it happens. Because I know that with saunas.
Yes, almost any wood except for a few. Your hardwoods generally are better for smoking. Your aromatic woods will generally produce really, really rich smoke, but a hardwood smoke is generally best. And the thing about smoke is that it has antibacterial properties. So even if you don't have soap, right? If you've got no power, you don't have soap, you don't have running water. Let's say you have an electric pump, and that fails because you have no power. Smoke will keep you clean. So do you prefer the smell of armpits or do you prefer the smell of smoke?
I know
prefer
white
the smell of
sage does
smoke.
the same thing, and it has
Depends. What
antibacterial.
does she look like?
Well, like I said, I know white sage has the same antibacterial, antifungal
Yes.
properties too. So I can
Yes.
understand and comprehend that trees would too. That's pretty cool.
So if you apply the smoke thing to the traditional medicines, you're adding an extra little to your recipe there. So that's the important thing. Smoke is the best way to preserve for long term. There's also the old school way, which was to make pemmican, and that was taught us by the First Nations. And that's basically a technique where you dry your meat out, and once it's in that dry state, you macerate it until it's into a powder, and then you mix it with fat, usually bear fat of some kind, because that's your nice, highly available animal fat around. And you will usually put in some sort of berries that are dried, like juniper berries is one of the biggest ones you'll find. Sometimes blueberries, right, just to make it a bit appetizing, because it's just meat and fat after a while, right? So that's basically what pemmican is. And that could last you for years in a bag, properly stored. So
Nice.
The old folks had all kinds of food preservation methods so that we could end up not being in a jam. But we got some modern tricks that work really well.
Yeah.
When you do have power, if you've got power, you can run a dehydrator, and that allows you to preserve an incredible amount of food quickly. And
Yes.
I was gifted with some vegetables a couple of years ago, and I made a stew out of all these peppers and dried onions and dried veg. And you know what? It was like having a burst of fresh food right there in the middle of the wintertime. I was making stew on my hot stove, my wood stove.
Did
It was a great
you
experience.
try dehydrated carrots?
I believe there was carrots in there.
Yeah, but did you eat one just dehydrated as a dried up little weird flake?
No, I have not
Oh.
tried that.
Buddy, like
Are they sweet?
They-
I would think.
they are so sweet. Like a
Revelation.
decent size mason jar, not like the crazy big ones, but like we got dehydrators and hey, Costco's got 10-pound bags of potatoes, so we filled the thing up. And I want to
Carrots.
say I put carrots. Yeah, I put 3 pounds of potatoes and only filled up half a mason jar, and they are sweet chips. They are delicious. Like those need to be snacks.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Well,
right.
he did mention camp stove, so that's another one too. Like if you do have the gracious in your house to still have a stove in your house, you can utilize that when the power goes out, and it's a good source of heat.
So
It
that
would-
was my next thought, actually,
Yeah.
was heat sources. So let's talk about stoves in the house, because I remember an experience. Some of you here on the panel might be a bit young to remember this, but there was this ice storm in 1998 in the Ottawa area.
I was in 3rd grade. I remember it.
Okay. Well, there's some people across the river from us. One fella, I think, died. I don't know if it was him or his family, but pretty tragic. What did they do? They grabbed the barbecue and they brought it inside. Bad idea. Right? Propane needs airflow, people. Right? Propane heat makes carbon monoxide. Oh, I'm hearing somebody talking about carbon monoxide alarms. Should they be running on batteries?
It's almost like we've covered that before on the podcast at some point.
No, it's like a cross pollination thing or something. So anyway, anything that consumes and burns something in order to produce heat, whether it's a wood stove, whether it's a propane stove, whether it's those nice Coleman stoves that I've used for a long, long time. They're great. They all emit carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, all things that push away oxygen, and that is bad for you. So use them with lots of airflow. They're meant to be used outside. Unless you've taken precautions indoors, it's really dangerous to do that sort of thing. So please be warned.
I do find that a lot of the emergency cooking that we do when the power goes out, we tend to go outside because a lot of the stuff that Pierre and I do own is propane based. So that's one thing you obviously, like Claude was saying, you got to be careful what's going on in your house, right? Like we got ourselves a barbecue. It's like a 3-in-1. We got one that runs on propane, another one that runs on charcoal, and then we got electric smoker. I mean, we got a generator so we can still kick the smoker when the power is out.
We can finish the brisket and not ruin it if the power goes out. But
love it. I'm going to give you all a great Amish trick that I saw many times in my travels, and I've been to a few different places where there's Amish communities. They will usually on their house feature a big porch onto which or under which they will have one of those cook stoves, a wood cook stove outside. So if it's in the middle of that sweltering summer heat without power, they're not cooking indoors, they're outside. And so that's the way to do it. If you've got the means to pick up one of those little wood cook stoves for outside use, and that's the way to do it.
That's quite the squirrel moment from can openers.
Yeah. Like I mean, we've made another episode or two, I'm sure, with the side tangent we've gone on for this stuff. That's for sure. I'm thinking.
Yeah. Jeff, what do you got next?
Well, and this came from the Discord too. Somebody brought up a couple of things, and then I'll sort of quickly mention what I had. So they thought a good idea would be some kind of a non-electric grinder, be it a coffee grinder, a grain mill, something like that.
Even a weed grinder, depending on what you're using. Like seriously, I know it sounds stupid, but
Budbuster.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Just something that you can use by hand, maybe.
Port and pestle or pestle, whatever it's called.
Mortar and pestle, absolutely.
Yeah. No, just get the slap chop. You're gonna love my nuts.
That's actually not a bad idea when you think about it. Like honestly.
No, like I wouldn't put it as like my basic prep, but I'm like, if it comes cheap enough at a store, like grab something. You can dice up a lot of stuff. Maybe not coffee grounds, but like, yeah.
I mean, you see it at Goodwill all the time. It's worth like a Goodwill $1 purchase to give it a try.
Yeah, 100%. Right.
But definitely embrace the use of hand tools. Know how to use a proper kitchen knife. A lot of people are helpless without a food processor. Many times I'll use a kitchen knife because it's less cleaning work. And you know what? If you're in a power down situation, you don't want to use a lot of water or supplies for cleaning. So just grab that knife and become familiar with it. There are ways to handle it. If you're not sure how, I'm sure there's a video out there on how to handle a kitchen knife and not hurt yourself, right? I'll show you. Maybe I'll do a video on that, how to handle a kitchen knife and not hurt yourself.
Always cut towards yourself, right? Just to limit the amount of other people that get hurt or something.
No, that's right. Just let them figure it out. Natural selection will take its course.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about power down, right? Natural selection does run its course. How will you handle your kitchen, right? Cleanliness is a big deal when you don't have power as well. And here's another I just thought of right now. Light. Have you ever cooked without light?
Yes.
This is something you haven't done. Try putting on a headlamp and cook without light. And try running 2 or 3 things at the same time with just a headlamp.
Try cooking in the dark without having your headlight on, and then you lose power at the place you're working. And there's no emergency light.
Denny brings up a good thing here. I know he mentions like have a slap chop, mortar and pestle, a lot of stuff, but he mentions the cast iron and Dutch oven. I've been trying to convert all our cooking stuff to cast iron. 1, because I don't like that Tefal stuff, but 2, cast iron can be used on so many surfaces. Yep. It's unbelievable. And I have fallen in love with my Dutch oven too.
It's one of the best investments you can have. I feel great about having purchased all of the stuff I've got in terms of cast iron.
You don't have to worry about temperature regulated. Is the flame too close? I can throw my cast iron on the barbecue, whether it's propane, whether it's charcoal, whether it's whatever. Other substances for cooking things are not available. Cast iron is the way to go. You can figure out how to clean it and prep it at a later date. If need be, you're out of power for a few days, you can get a few meals through. Definitely good.
In the show notes, I see that Jeff has this Kelly kettle. What is that?
Actually, that wasn't me, but if I'm getting the idea from, it was I think it was Ian's, but anyways, either way, it doesn't matter. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's just one of those smaller. You ever heard of a BioLite stove? It's just a small stove. It stands about this high, round. It's got lots of air holes and stuff in it, and you just basically burn little sticks. You just put little sticks in there. The air feeds it. It's got a little bit of a tripod sort of thing on the top. You can set a kettle, a small pot. So that's kind of what those things are. The Kelly kettle is that smaller, type of, I guess, coffee kettle, whatever you want to call it, for a BioLite stove.
That's cool, because like the BioLite, actually, I thought you guys were talking about the company BioLite, because we have a smokeless fire pit with a cooktop that also, when the heat goes, it charges the battery to allow the fan to continue, and you can also charge your phone or whatever I don't think you can do a laptop.
Yeah, and
charge your phone.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, and you can cook on top of it. Yep.
Yeah, ours, we've used it once, and we did one of those I think 4-hour burning logs. It burned really well, and there was no smoke at all. And it was quite warm, and you could hear the fan. The fan is not noisy, but you do hear a sound. And did we try to charge something? I don't think so, eh?
No, I don't think so, because we had power and we just wanted a fire in the backyard. We were like, we bought this thing, we might as well use it. So I don't think we tried to use the charger, but use it.
That little stove thing, I know what you're talking about. That little stove thing, I've had my eyes on, ask Pierre, for the last 3 years. Because I think it's such a cool concept, especially when you get the kit. Because doesn't it come with a kettle, a pot? So there's a bunch of stuff.
You can buy the whole kit. Yep, you can just buy the stove itself, or you can buy a complete kit.
You guys talking BioLites, or what are you guys talking about there?
Yeah, the BioLites.
Yeah.
We have the fireplace one, but I've always wanted to get the little stove thing too.
Yeah, I got the little stove one for the tabletop. Basically, the nice thing is you can pre-charge it before you leave or before the power goes out. And so when you run the fire, it actually recharges it, but also it has USB ports and everything else, so it's actually pretty cool that way.
See, I knew the fire recharge, but I didn't know you can pre-charge it.
Because it's got a storable battery, right? So it's got that's obviously well insulated from the fire container, but so it's kind of cool. So you've already got a little mini storage of power, but then you can maintain it as well. So
how long does the battery charge on your little? Oh, sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, on the continuation of cooking, that was going to be my next thing. Is you can have all the food you want, but if you don't have a way to cook it or heat it, you're eating it raw, you're eating it cold. So I'm just going to throw out a few options for people, and then I'll let everybody else go. Wood stoves are great if you have it.
Agreed.
Big enough to put a pot on, or a pan or something like that.
Now, is there certain stoves that you can and cannot cook on? Because sometimes when I see stoves, I see areas that you can't. They're legitimately made. You know how it has the cutout for the pot or whatever that you can lift up and put the wood in and whatever. And sometimes they have even a grill or an element type of look to them. Because I know our standalone cast one has that. But I've gone into other houses where it's just a simple whatever the metal is made out of, and it's just a roof on a house type thing.
Yep. You can go ahead and use that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what my stove is. It just has it does have a decorative top on it, but it's got a big grate
flat spot.
I could just take the decorative top on it and set it right on the metal. It won't matter.
Okay.
Yep. So you can use that if you have it. Barbecue, obviously. Now, I understand there's probably not a lot, but people listening, they're in a condo, they're in an apartment, they can't have a wood stove. A lot of places now you can't have barbecues. So I'm just going to throw this hint out. I'll put a link, or somebody can put a link in the show notes because I'm not logged in, if you wouldn't mind. And basically all it is it's a small butane powered burner. It's a single burner. You can buy them at Canadian Tire for $20.99 right now. And all you need is a can of butane.
Yep.
The cans are on sale at Canadian Tire again right now. 3 cans for $7.99.
That's a
Just
good deal.
set that on your counter, and away you go. You've got a flame. You can cook. You can heat water. You can do whatever with it. It's cheap. It's portable. Because you've got to have a way to cook. And the other thing, the last thing I'll touch on. And I was going to say, if you're in a rural area and you can cook outside, nothing wrong with having a fire. Even if there's fire bans on, most of the time, there's an exemption if you have the fire for the sole purpose of cooking. You have to be able to prove you're cooking. And if the fire department shows up, a wiener on a stick doesn't count. But if you're kind of doing proper cooking, you don't. In a lot of places they even say you need a permit for a bonfire. No permit required if you're food cooking. So
and in all honesty, like, your flame shouldn't be that high when you're cooking on a fire anyways, because you're really looking for the heat for the coals, aren't you? Like, if I understand my stuff correctly.
Exactly.
I'm still learning fire cooking myself.
Coals are way hotter than
exactly
flames.
Right. You don't want this huge flame. You want those coals. It's no different from a barbecue. You like the barbecue,
no different than cooking with charcoal.
Fair enough.
Like charcoal, and you get the heat.
That glow. Yeah, you get that glow.
Same thing. Because sometime, depending on how things are, the one thing you need is clean water, and at some point you may need to boil that water. So use your outside fire and boil the water, because the last thing you want to do is be getting yourself sick.
I know you were talking about the butane stuff. Isn't there like a jelly in a jar or something like that?
Yes.
I think, isn't that what the what are those called? You want one?
That's the other product that's out
Those
there.
are chafing dishes. Normally they're chafing dishes. So I got a Christmas present a few years ago from Mel, and it's a little folding like personal cooker. It folds very thin. It comes in a little,
it kind of follows the concept of the Kelly kettle that you have.
Yeah, it's if I was to walk around with this little case, people would question my sexuality. But it comes in a little thing. You fold it out. It's got a tray, but you can either put woods and sticks in it to burn, and it's got a spot for like ashes to fall down, and a cleaning tray, or they're called chafing dishes. So a lot of anybody that's probably been to a wedding or something, they've got those bins that are full of just warm food, like it's pre-cooked, and then this just does. So there's a small canister, and it's got gel in it. You can buy liquid ones. I strongly recommend buy the gel ones. You can throw them in your bag, whatever. And it's a gel. You light it up with a lighter, rub 2 sticks together, whatever it is, and you can get flame. You can at least cook something. And to put them out, you just literally put the lid back on top of it, and it kind of like stokes out the oxygen. They are dirt cheap in comparison to many things. You can have them in your house. You can buy cases of them if you go to the right store. I know you can buy them at, I think they're called, it's National Grocer out here, or it might be called something else, but you can order them on Amazon, whatever. It's pretty much Vaseline that's flammable is what it is in this thing. And they'll have like a 3-4 hour runtime. I've baited for bear and had like molasses and brown sugar mixed in it, and set this thing up. And I mean, like 4 or 5 hours runtime, and it was boiling in the can I had in there. They pump out a lot of heat. So that is also another alternative to the propane one, or the butane one. Sorry, you were talking about, Jeff. I know it has a specific name, and I just can't remember. But yeah, 100%. That's another option.
Like, I know with go ahead, Claude.
For people on the go, if you want something small that's packable, there's the MSR Pocket Rocket 2. It'll take a beating, and it'll go a long, long time. Mine's been through multiple cans of isobutane. Isobutane is highly portable. It doesn't make much of a stink. It's a small amount. It's safe to carry. Definitely highly endorse that product. I'm not being paid by them. It's just stood by me a long time. So yeah, good product.
Like I know at like Pierre and I are really well set up with like our off grid. Like if the power goes out tomorrow, I wish Brad was on because he could fend for this. Honestly, it's no big deal.
Claude was there at the wedding.
Well,
I've seen the setup.
People off
right?
grid.
Well,
right?
the only thing you didn't see is our outdoor oven. So like I mean, we're very lucky.
Yeah.
So when you walk out,
Yeah.
we could serve you a 5-course meal, no problem. Come on over, we got you. Because we've just invested in that. Because we would rather cook outside, kind of like back in like the 1800s, where they had the outdoor kitchens and all that stuff, versus cooking inside. Because, I mean, why not?
I like the way you put it. It's in it, and so it's sort of a little pause here, but it comes back to the point. Investing in prepping is really investing in yourself. If we have this capability to cook outdoors, you now have the ability to cook regardless of what's occurring, and then your only factor is rain, maybe. Right?
Well, even then, we
that's
were
something.
pretty well set up with umbrellas, and with our new outdoor kitchen, we're going to set up. We're going to have a complete room where we're going to set, because we've noticed where typically the rain and snow come our way when it happens, because we've been lucky enough to be here during a winter already, that we know how to position the outdoor kitchen so that we should be pretty covered. And in worst case scenario, we can throw up a tarp if need be. But like I said, we got a 3-in-1 barbecue that consists of our regular propane barbecue, charcoal, and then we have the electric smoker that if stuff happens, we just run the generator, we can run the smoker. And then we got the 3-burner cooktop that we can cook on. And I think, what was it? You burnt the potatoes or something because it was so hot.
Oh yeah, the turbine, like it's a jet engine. This thing, I think that's the one I put in like the chat or whatever. So we have spent a lot of time. So I won't say we've cooked a lot when like the power's out, but like we just enjoy being outside. And the previous place before we bought a house had no AC, and the way the house was, it was ridiculous. So I'm like, we have invested quite a bit, and we have gone on trips a few times, enough times that we have invested in being able to cook like you're at home, even though we're in an outhouse and there's no running water at this place, like 100%, right? So we have invested quite a bit of funds into things, like one of them, which I posted in the private chat, which maybe someone can post that. It's not the same one we have, but it's pretty much similar. So we literally bought an outdoor oven or stove. I'll say stove that runs on propane, right? You buy the adapter, you can put a 20-pounder on it. We have lots of propane. We always have propane at home. Extended crazy period of time may not, be sustainable compared to cooking on fire or, sacrificing a goat to the proper god. But we could lose power for a few days. We've always got lots of propane at home because we prep ahead of time. But I'm like, this has literally 2 burners on the top of it and a stove underneath that we can set with propane, and you can cook a full chicken in it. No ands for months. Works 100%. Fantastic. Works fantastic. We went up to our friend's property up in Memora area, and he's like, I normally eat out of a can without even filling it up, or warming it up. Sorry. So I'm like, no. Like I took this thing out of the back seat. We hooked up our propane tank. We cooked
7 minutes.
Spigot. Yeah, like 7 to 10 minutes. Like we had noodles boiling, ground beef cooked from scratch. Opened up the can, thankfully to our can openers. Opened up sauce mix, throw it all in a bowl. We were eating like you were just at home and you spent all day cooking. We have purchased. I purchased a Costco. I unfortunately couldn't find a link beforehand. But we have a 90,000 BTU 3-burner cook. 3-burner cooktop that we were cooking the potatoes at the wedding. Claude, like this thing rocketed. It's got 3 burners on it. It's from Camp Chef. Good deal. It was Costco. The other one was Costco. Anything that we went outside, you can boil water. You can get clean cooking or clean water to either consume, cook, whatever you need. Your barbecue, like I have literally used everything that we're talking about tonight. I haven't mentioned some of it, but everything except for the little oven to cook for 50 people for a wedding, our
Off-grid.
wedding, off grid. Claude was there. Claude was chopping veggies with a croupie. And I was barbecuing, I don't know how many steaks, chicken. We did roasted potatoes. I did bacon wrapped asparagus. Like the whole kit and caboodle for 50 people, fully off grid, off propane, which longevity wise, you need to worry about your propane consumption. But other than that, if you're out for a day or two, have a spare 20 pounder in the tank or in the shed or wherever you have it, 100%. Spending a little bit of money, may never use it, may use it, may decide to go camping, and this can save you. Will 100%.
At least the 3-burner, yeah. Because our flat grill, like that's the creme of our crop.
Yeah. That's the Cadillac of off-grid cooking. Like
I have
you
to
hook
agree.
up a propane.
I have to agree 100% with Pierre on the propane thing. Lady Propane is definitely the way
Well,
to
it doesn't
go.
go bad for one. Like it lasts forever, right?
It lasts forever.
reservation.
Your tank may not, but
Just
I mean-
one reservation about it though. It is terrible at minus 25.
yes, it is brutal.
It
To get
Don't
something
limit
going.
anything that's down to minus 25. It's
And
Okay, well,
the
not
other
all
thing-
of us are lush enough.
And so if
And I was
some
going to
of
say the other
us,
thing you've got to be careful of, like I mentioned, is depends where you live. Some
Mhm.
places,
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
if you're in an apartment, you can't have
Yeah.
propane a lot of
I'm not-
times and
yep.
whatever. So I mean, Pat the bunker made up a great point. Don't stick with just one option,
yes.
Yeah.
No.
right?
For sure.
You've got to have more
Propane,
than one
butane.
way to do it. So
And that's our downfall, unfortunately, is that, like I said, all of our things run off of propane, right? Like even our
But-
36-inch flat grill, it has 2 air dryers. I mean, you can get crispy potatoes, fryers,
Air
that you can get,
fryers.
and one warmer, right? So as
Yep.
much as, like Jeff was saying, like as much as this is all fun and dandy, and they're like, holy crap, these are cool things. This is why we're learning how to cook on fire, because at the end of the damn day, that's all
Fire.
we're really gonna have.
If you want a
Yep,
poor man's griddle on a wood fire, all you need is a large flat stone. And you build a
Yep.
platform of
A
stone.
good flat stone that's sort of clean.
Flat stone, yeah, fairly clean, right? Soak it with water. But remember, fire cleans everything. Fire purifies all.
You
So
got to
if
be
have
careful
to-
what kind of rock you use, though, because they can explode.
Oh, definitely, right? You
well,
wanna-
if they're wet and impregnated, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You don't use stones that have been in a river stream or in a stream at all. Try to use a dry stone.
However,
but-
I did see a process that they were purifying water with heating up stones. I don't know. I didn't look too much further into that, but I don't know if it's some sort of certain stones or whatnot. But I mean, if you got nothing else to boil, I mean, if you got to like carve your own bowl or whatever and you're thirsty, careful it doesn't set your bowl on fire when it all evaporates. But I mean, like, it's cool to see different outside the box thinking on some things.
Yeah.
Before it gets to that, though, too, I mean, keep in mind that, like, I don't think people even realize how long propane does last. You know what I mean? Like, so we got the 200 pounder set up for our kitchen grid, our stovetop here, which is all, you know, propane and stuff. So obviously no city gas or anything where we are. And we thought, well, that might last us 6 months or whatever before we have to fill them up and stuff. We have yet, after about a year and a half now, we haven't gone through the first 100 pounds yet. So
Yep.
it lasts forever. So if you got a couple hundred pounds,
Is it pricey to fill? You don't need to give me exact amount, but is it like pricey to fill when they're completely empty?
No, not at all. You just go to Costco and they have the big propane set up there.
Huh.
So yeah, that's the nice thing. Costco will fill up 100 pounders.
Yeah, and so
Oh,
that's
yeah.
they will for sure. I know that
if
for a
you,
fact.
if you go bigger than 100
Hmm.
pounds, then you got to get the truck to come to you. But if you have 100 pound or less, then you go to Costco with a dolly and carry it around, right? And then you just heat it
Or
up.
also, so the previous place we lived at, we're on natural gas here, which is kind of nice, but shitty at the same time because infrastructure, government, and all those things. But when we lived at the other place, we were on propane, and I had inquired. I was like, "Hey, can you guys fill up tanks?" And they said, "If you've got 100-pounder, we will." So we had our tanks for the rest of the house, and they said, "If you have 100-pounder, we can fill it up, no problem. But anything smaller than that, they will not touch." So already, if you're in an area that you already supply your house with propane for either hot water, heating, or whatever, would be good to reach out and just be like, "Hey, if I get 100-pounder here, can you guys fill it up?" Or you buy two. I've seen them at Costco because apparently I'm a Costco whore. But you can buy a tank there, 100-pounder. That's good for what is propane tanks? 6 years? 5 years? 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you buy it
10 years.
Yeah, okay, 10 years. So I'm like, I think it's $180. You can pay to get it filled up there, which I recommend because you got to purge whatever. And then if you already get propane dropped off at your house for everything, and you discuss with them like, "Hey, if I've got 100-pounder in the back that's empty, can you fill it up?" And you can now run everything we just discussed in an area where I'm like, you would be laughing for 100-pounder tank compared to like Joe Blow across the street that barbecues, once every 3 weeks and can cook half a steak before his propane runs out. That's definitely a thing that I would look into, is discuss with, if you have propane, discuss it. Just be like, "Hey, do you guys fill 100-pounders? Yeah. Well worth the investment, in my opinion."
Well, even if it's expired, I mean, technically you can fill them yourself, but I mean, that's another whole story we don't want to talk about online. But anyway, yeah, no, I mean, I think anything less than 100 pounds is just not worth their while to hook up or two, right? Like if they're driving a truck around, time is money, right? So I don't think they're going to waste their time with anything less. But yeah, the 100-pounders are easy to get, easy to fill, and you can still move around in your own personal vehicle if you have a pickup truck. You're supposed to ship them up right and everything else, but yeah, do what you got to do.
Don't put two of them in the back of your truck and try and get both of them
and even after the 10 years, all you have to do is get it revalved, and it's much cheaper than buying a new one.
Yep.
Yes.
And recertified.
And before we end all this, oh, sorry, go ahead, Pierre.
Don't bring more than one 100-pounder to any fill station that will accommodate without having your proper hazardous goods and or some other license. So if you go somewhere with 8 tanks, they will not fill more than 5. You're not supposed to have that much consumables, combustibles, blah, blah, blah. So don't forget that, just as a complete side note. If you bring 2 100-pounders somewhere, unless you have a specific license, they will not fill more than 1. So just food for thought. Look into hazardous goods and traveling with propane. There are limitations on what you can and cannot carry without a specific license, whether you do it on your own, but most places will not. I ran into that once when I tried to get them to fill 6 propane tanks. They said we can only do 5 unless you've got this.
Well, that's why you carry 5 and Mel carries 1, and then you're still good to go, right?
So I said fill all 6. It was literally like a 30-second drive to where my workshop was. I was like, "Give me the first one." I was like, "You have 5 of my tanks." So I took the first one, dropped it off at the shop, and I was like, "I'm only leaving with 5," and then went and picked up the 6th one. But just, to save yourself the hassle of like, okay, I put both tanks in, brought both. If you work somewhere, that'll fill it, or see if your propane fill up. But yeah, it's just, most places will just be like, "Hey, our hands are tied. We can't do anything legally unless you show these things," which I completely understand. But yeah.
Before we get, go ahead, Ian.
No, I was just going to say the absolute last thing I would say on that is, and don't get me wrong when I say this, Pierre or anybody, I'm not sure why you would want to be filling up 5 at a time anyways. If you've got 5, you need to be rotating them, right? You've got 2 of them that are empty. Take those 2, get them filled, bring them back. Like just like your fuel, just keep rotating them. Even though the propane never goes bad, keep you got to keep them
because of our camper. Our camper, we run on 2 of them when we take it out, but then we also bring the barbecues with us so that we kind of see it.
I didn't bring all 5 because I had no propane. Just to be clear.
Yeah, we have more tanks.
That's how many tanks I have, right?
And I
Right?
think
So,
we have one or
just
two
say-
abroad. So I mean, we just
Yeah.
gotta
So
hit stuff.
I mean, like we have like 8-9 propane tanks. So it was just like, hey, okay, we're getting way too low. Yes, I put a fresh one on the barbecue and I still got 2, but I got too many empty. So yes, don't leave all your eggs in a chicken. Yes, we should have done it, or one at a time or whatever. But like, don't worry, I was not out of propane when I got 6 of them filled. Just to be clear.
Can we touch base on the solar power cooking, because that gives more people in the apartment
so
a little
cool.
bit more suggestion, or I guess options to cook when they can't have barbecues or anything of fire?
Why don't we call a night here
Fair enough.
and go for a part 2, because we're already an hour and 5 into it. So
Yeah.
Fair enough.
We could
something tells me we're gonna get about 16 more scroll moments before this is all done. So
Yes.
we could probably just we'll call her there. Why don't we just move on to the podcast challenge tonight, and then we'll come back to part 2 next week.
Yeah,
So I think it's
I'm good with that.
Mel's up for the podcast challenge.
Oh, I see this. Procure one method of do-it-yourself off-grid cooking. You build is fine. Just let us know what you did.
All right. Upcoming events. Terry's not here, so I'll plug the Annual Preppers Meet Forum, annualpreppersmeet.com, July 11th to 14th at the, I love saying this, Slovenian Hunters and Anglers Club.
Oh.
Do you have to be Slovenian to join it? I kind of know, because it's so close to Toronto. You think it'd be popular.
Oh.
I don't know.
I don't know. You made a thing move, Phil. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Anyway, Jeff, you have a weather blurb.
I certainly do. So we continue, obviously, at this time of year with the roller coaster temperature. It's going to get below freezing where I live tonight. There's going to be several areas that are going to get cold throughout the beginning of this week. So don't plant your gardens quite yet. Give it another few days or a couple weeks. I wouldn't quite be doing that.
Be a long weekend.
Yes.
Yeah,
Always
you can wait
wait
till the
till
long
May long
weekend. I know some people like to get them in early, but we're going to have below freezing temperatures, at least in Ontario, probably down into the northern U.S. So don't be planting your stuff yet. We had some significant weather, unexpected significant weather yesterday in the Carolinas, specifically a small town called Rock Hill, South Carolina. They actually had a small tornado. There were other places that got golf ball size hail. These were areas that were only in a 1 out of 5 on the rating scale for severe weather. So this caught a lot of people off guard, including me. I didn't see it coming. I knew there were going to be storms. I didn't see it coming to this level. So just because you're in a low risk area doesn't mean you're going to get anything. Tuesday and into moving through the week, things are going to pick up in activity, especially in the States, but some of it will move into Ontario. We're going to see activity through the Ohio Valley and a bit into Southern Ontario, with the tail of it dropping down into North Texas. Again, it's only a marginal 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather. Doesn't mean that what happened in South Carolina can't happen here. Keep your ear to the ground for that. Wednesday, it looks like we're going to be fine. Thursday, we're looking at a much more higher chance of severe weather. There's a 15% risk of severe weather. Again, we're talking northern Texas, middle Oklahoma, maybe a bit into Kansas. Friday, we have another 15% risk. It's a much bigger area from the Midwest to the Southern Plains. Again, a bit into northern Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa. Saturday and Sunday, I can see these same areas being affected at this point. The low pressure system's kind of stalling out over the west, and it's just going to keep pumping that warm Pacific, or sorry, I can't even, I'm gapping at the body of water down there by Louisiana and that. But anyways, you know what I'm talking about. And it's just pumping that from the Gulf of Mexico. Sorry. So yeah, it's pumping that warm, humid air up. You've got the dry line on the west side of it where the cold front is. And anytime you get that, you get storms. Storm Prediction Center has not made a forecast for that yet, because it is a little bit too far out. However, I can see that changing in the next 24 to 36 hours. Some of the models don't agree. Personally, I think there's still going to be the good threat there. Matter of fact, some forecasters are even leaning towards a more high risk for next weekend. So this could lead to another multi-day severe weather event. Again, just keep your eye on stuff. I've told people about the Discord. Be on the Discord. I've got a weather section there. I've got a general weather, more severe weather stuff. So, I update it as stuff comes in. We're only on here once a week, and sometimes it's hard to predict weather a week away, but I'll give you what I can on the Discord.
Right on.
With that attitude, buddy, that's unacceptable. You need to be accurate for the rest of the week. So at least Sunday when we
like
start
all the other
podcast.
weatmen are, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, what's your point, buddy?
I expect more from you, Jack. You're magical. Come on now.
You know how many times I've had rain in my area, and I'm upset that you haven't put something saying I'm expecting rain in the group chat.
fucking guys, yeah. All right, deal of the week here.
Well, I can put down every time it's going to rain. I'll just flood it with stuff. I just leave it for the more
flood
severe
it
stuff.
and rain.
Rain.
Just do it every day, and if it doesn't, at least we're happy. So deal of the week, Princess Auto, surprisingly, many times. They've got a metal frame wooden tabletop at Princess Auto. It's apparently good for 220 pounds. I will say you should test that for yourself. But it's a foldable table. It's got a wood top. If you've got somewhere that you can maybe set out an outdoor area, that would be a good working area. Currently, right now, it is on sale for $47.77. Even at full price, at $70, I think it's well worth it. We're gonna go buy one and test it out, take it out of the box and check it out, and probably pick up more than one. But it's something that you could put somewhere. You can either put a cooktop on it. You can put your food. You could put a bin that you're going to clean your utensils in or whatever for give or take $50 plus tax. I think it's well worth it. It's foldable, so even if you don't use it for that, you can probably use it for something else for your preps. So I think that's well worth the investment. Yes.
Shout out, Scotty.
I got none on this one.
No, he's sorry, we gave it to you there. Two new patrons. We got John and David, both at the 750 level, I believe, for the podcast. Much appreciated.
Welcome to the fold.
Yeah. Email. We got an email from Rob, and he asks, "How do we deal with zombies?" So there's a Yahoo article, Yahoo News, I guess. Chronic wasting disease deaths. There's 2 hunters that basically ate contaminated deer meat that had CWD or chronic wasting disease in it. Which, of course, the symptoms are, it's Jacob Kreutzfeldt, same idea, right? So it's they're slurring their speech, they can't walk straight, they're kind of mumbling, and they end up dying, obviously. Horrible way to go. But his original question is how to deal with zombies. Well, if Zombieland can teach us anything, always the double tap, right?
Yeah, double tap and cardio and double tap.
What is it? Twinkies? No Yohos?
Yo.
Twinkies.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyways,
and it always ends up being Yohos. Yeah, that's what it is.
More of a PSA than anything else, I guess. If you're in a CWD area, you're supposed to get your deer tested. You're supposed to bring in the spine and or the brain. See if there's any CWD results in your deer before you eat it.
It's worth the time to get it checked, guys.
Yeah, kind of harsh way to go for sure. And there's no cure, obviously. Once you get it, that you're done. So, anyway, with that happy news,
like taxes.
No
cure for that fucking shit.
Well, it's only getting worse. And that's tomorrow, though. We'll talk about that. I'm going to bring tonight's episode, 236 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast, to an end. You can find the audio podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Please submit a review.
And we do record these shows live on Facebook and YouTube. If you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper Podcast, and click the notifications tab. That gives you an alert when we're going live. Anybody wants to reach out to me, it's feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. Or I'm frequently on the Discord, as I've mentioned more than once.
If you want to find me specifically, You can find me Monday nights, most likely with a co-host from tonight on Monday nights on the YouTubes, because we're not allowed anywhere else for the Canadian Patriot podcast. And my significant other will let you know where you can find all the other thingamabobbers for the company.
If you're interested in any t-shirts, or if you guys want to send us an email, or if you just, want to tell Pierre off, you can send it at offthewallcustomizing@gmail.com. I will post the ones that you tell Pierre off, though, just letting you say. We do have a TikTok.
100%. 100%. I want to read them. Send them.
I'm going to make a new email for you just for that. Feedback@Pierre.
Yeah.
You can find me, the Frugal Gunny, on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, and CPP Discord, and in person this summer at the annual Preppers Meet.
Right on. You can reach Ian directly by emailing me at theislandretreat@gmail.com. You can also find myself and Pierre on Canadian Patriot Podcast live on YouTube Monday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern, on iTunes, as well as the Gilded app for CPP. There you can find us discussing why government waste and the general degradation of society has me talking about Dutch ovens. At least not, well, we kind of did tonight, but maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll give you more details on how to sneaky do it.
Yeah, it's about
No
the
Or
chocolate
different Dutch oven. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, be prepared, stay safe.
And keep learning.
As we wrap up another insightful episode of the Canadian Prepper Podcast, we want to extend our gratitude to our listeners for joining us on this journey of preparedness. Remember, the key to survival is knowledge and readiness. If you want to support the show and engage with our community further, consider signing up for our Patreon and joining our thriving community on Discord. Links are in the description. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. This is the Canadian Prepper Podcast, signing off. Until next time, be prepared, stay safe, and keep learning.